Hello, ¿cómo están? So this is Reinas Empowered, and we're doing the final part of the Proverbs 31 Husband epilogue series. So today we're going to be focusing on Proverbs 31, chapter 31, verse 28 through 29. You know, if you're interested in seeing some of the other videos of the first two verses in this epilogue, you know, you can check out some of my other videos. Also put the links below. But yeah, let's go into the last and final verse about the Proverbs 31 husband. And so it says, her children rise up and call her blessed, happy, fortunate, and to be envied, and her husband boasts of her and praises her, saying, many daughters have done virtuously, nobly, and well, with strength of character that is steadfast in goodness, but you excel them all. So the Proverbs 31 husband, the first point. He expresses his love for his wife in front of his children. So this verse basically focuses on the way the Proverb 31 husband expresses himself to his wife in front of his family, you know, the way he communicates to her. So the way that I imagine this verse is that the children are rising up, right? They're like in the living room. The children are rising up and just calling their mom blessed, or just praising her and talking about how awesome she is. And at the same time, he's like, and let me tell y'all how awesome my wife is. You know, she is a woman of character and there's no one like her. And, you know, his children are seeing this, right? So it takes me back to a research study, and that I watched, and a quote by John Wooden, who is a basketball coach and also a Christian man. If you're into basketball, check him out. He said, one of the greatest gifts a man can give his children is to love their mother. Children that see their parents express love and trust and respect towards one another actually have a higher self-esteem. They have a better outlook on life. They're actually healthier physically. They are just mentally, emotionally, and socially just healthier and more mature. On the contrast, children of divorced parents, you know, they have higher depression rates. They have social and behavioral problems. Also have more health issues. So physically, emotionally, behaviorally, just generally are just not as healthy as children that see their parents love one another and you know, respect and trust one another. My challenge in applying what we can take from these observations in this verse, both for men and women, if you grew up, first of all, if your parents are divorced, or you know, you just grew up seeing your parents have a lot of constant negative interactions, whether it be verbal, emotional, or physically, even to the point of abuse, you know, domestic violence or anything like that. If we've experienced any of those things, we really need to experience God's healing and growth and make sure we're dealing with whatever wounds are still there, or whatever ways these experiences still have an effect in the way we see romantic relationship as a whole. So my challenge to you is partner with God if you've experienced these things, so that they don't go into your relationships, your romantic relationships, or relationships period, and not to mention, of course, a marriage, because you don't want to be trying to work through some of those serious problems within a marriage, especially if you maybe saw your dad, like, you know, have a really bad temper, and then realize that you actually struggle with that as well. So you want to really deal with that and address those things as a single, you know, before you're getting into a relationship. Some of those things you could, of course, work through with a partner, but more than anything, make sure you're going to God with that and asking him, how do you want me to address this? How do I need healing and growth? One of the things that you can do that with is by being around healthy relationships. You know, make sure you have friends, you know, at church, you know, hang around healthy couples, healthy marriages, you know, have mentors, community around you that are, if you're in a relationship, are able to pour into you, that you can take counsel from when you need advice and are struggling. Of course, read scripture, you know, and books, and understand what the Bible, how the Bible defines family, what the God has to say, what the Bible has to say about your wounds, and how God loves you and He's gonna help you through that. And of course, counseling and talking to your pastor. If you need counseling for whatever you experienced when you were younger, if there's, you know, severe trauma that needs to be addressed in the ways your parents kind of interacted with one another, and the way it might be still affecting you today, and the way you do relationships. I know for me, you know, I remember for me it's been really helpful to be around healthy marriages, you know, my pastors being one of them. I know when my parents, I love them, and I know they love me, and you know, they loved each other in their own way, but it was not healthy. And like, I remember to this day, I've only seen my parents kiss once, and the time I did see them kiss, it was very forced. They didn't look like they wanted to kiss. It was more because the whole family was like, I like kiss, you know, beso, beso. You guys, if you're Latino, you heard this, you know, beso. And I could just sense it, you know, I was younger, but I knew that they didn't want to. I could see in their face, they were just like, oh my gosh, let's just get over this, you know. And that's the only time I've seen them kiss. And you could feel the tension, and then I felt like everyone else noticed the tension too. And maybe they didn't think I noticed, and maybe they didn't think my siblings noticed, but we did. And we noticed, you know, kids notice everything, they soak it in. And you know, when I became Christian, I remember my pastors took the youth out to Starbucks, and they went to go get everyone the drinks, right? And they didn't realize I was going after them, because I guess I don't know what, I was gonna ask them a question or who knows what. So they didn't know I was running after them, or that I was looking at them. And I see them stop at the door, and my pastor, you know, she is like kind of giggling, and I don't know what they're talking about. And then they give each other, my youth pastors give each other like a really cute like little kiss, you know. And I still remember that moment so vividly in my mind, and it almost, like, honestly, it's almost like God like almost reprogrammed something in my mind. And to that day, like, just thinking about them, I feel like that was the beginning of God showing me what a healthy relationship was like. And to me, when I think about that kiss in my mind, I remember that it almost was like a promise for me, honestly, and I still think about it as a promise for me today, that like the Lord has the power to redeem, and that He was promising to me, like, Val, like, I'm gonna teach you what a healthy relationship looks like, and what love looks like, and I'm being able to share that and enjoy that, you know, in a marriage one day, you know. So you know, especially being a Latina, you know, Latinos typically are very affectionate. It's an affectionate culture. And for me not to see my parents be affectionate, you know, I didn't realize, you know, how much it kind of like impacted me, you know. So for me to see my pastors doing that, that was so significant. That's why I'm saying, like, be intentional finding healing. I know for me, a big part of finding healing and, you know, learning how to do healthy relationships was just being around healthy relationships and couples. So I want to encourage y'all in that, that the Lord, if you're not called to a life of singleness, you know, He is a way, He is the truth, and He is the life, and He wants you to have a fruitful marriage, a happy marriage, a marriage where there's trust, there's respect, there's love, there's perseverance, hope, and faith, you know. Growing, and He's for you in that, and maybe He wants to work through some things with you today, so you could get there. So that's the first point. The first point is that the Proverbs 31 husband shows, you know, or communicates his love to his wife in front of his kids. So he shows love to their mother, and that has an effect on the household. First of all, in their marriage, and creates a sense of safety and security in the children. My second point is that, of course, a Proverbs 31 husband boasts and praises his wife. He affirms her. And if we look at this verse, boast means to take excessive pride and self-satisfaction in someone's achievements, possessions, or abilities, to brag about yourself or someone else. Praise is to commend someone, to express admiration. And research studies also back this up. They did a study on couples when they're having conflict, and they found out for every negative interaction during a conflict, a stable and happy marriage has 5 more positive interactions. So if you're, arguing with your partner or having a disagreement, and you're like, feel hurt or there was some miscommunication, that's one negative interaction. So a healthy couple, they have that one negative interaction, then say a bunch of 5 other things, but something like, well, I still trust you, or I'm still committed to working this out, help me understand what you meant by this, I apologize, forgive that, things like that. Other words that actually encourage and create this sense of trust, respect, and love, right? Foster that. Now, the couples that were on the verge of divorce or just very unhappy in their relationships, it says that it was their ratio was during conflict was 1 to 1 or less. So sometimes they wouldn't even say anything positive during a conflict. It was just something negative, and that's it. So that's unhealthy and indicates a couple is teetering on the edge of divorce. So unhealthy couples usually, there's a negative interaction, and for every negative interaction, there's one positive maybe interaction, maybe. So it says maybe. Sometimes it was just a negative interaction and they left it there. Clearly, the Proverbs 31 husband he understands the power of words, and he uses them to build up, to praise his wife all the time, and recognizes the way this fosters, a sense of security, of joy, of trust, respect, intimacy in his relationship. So for men, my challenge to you, or some questions to think about, is communicate with your partner, or if you're dating someone, or if you're married, or planning on dating someone. Communicate with your partner, or just even if you're not dating, with the women around you, and tell them what you admire about them, and be specific. That's one thing that you can use to help you, like, be specific. You could say, like, you look beautiful, or you could say, I really love the way you did your hair today, or something like that, right? Or like going into her character, right? Sharing that about her, like, I love the way, you could say, like, you're such a loving person, or you could say, I love the way you notice your neighbors and go out of your way to get to know them and serve their needs, and like took that single mom like food last weekend and talked to her and make sure she was okay. Something like that, right? Like, that's very specific, and it helps a person feel appreciated, seen, and loved, admired. So be specific. You can highlight physical beauty, but of course this man specifically, if you notice, he's not mentioning anything physical about her. He's specifically focusing on her inner beauty, and yeah, that's something that you should definitely consider complimenting in women, because I know for me, when a man is maybe just focusing on complimenting my looks, it kind of makes me not trust him so much. I'm like, okay, if that's the only thing he's focusing on. But a man that like notices my character, especially with like my boyfriend, for example, like I noticed it allowed me to trust him more, because I'm like, okay, you really see past that, and I feel like it showed me that he was a lot more than skin deep. You know, he's not just a superficial dude. Of course, we want to be attracted to a person. I'm not saying don't get with someone you find like repulsive. But make sure you're acknowledging and noticing their character and acknowledging that how you see God through her, how you feel like she's irreplaceable. So yeah, he says there's so many other amazing women out there, but you surpass them all. You know, to him, she is someone that cannot be replaced, right? So communicate that to the women around you. You know, if you're single, you don't have a partner, like even just your mom, you know, women that influence you, just like acknowledge the ways that like you wouldn't be the person you are today without them, you know, and how they're irreplaceable in your life, you know. And of course, if you have a partner, you're married, you know, share those things with them, why that person is just, you know, irreplaceable to you, those memories, those priceless moments that you've shared together. So for women, I want to encourage you. Of course, there's nothing wrong with looking good, and you know, I personally just, you know, take pride in just taking care of how I look and stuff. But let's make sure it doesn't take priority over our character, which is the most important thing to God, and our love for Him, of course. Yeah, because I mean, if you want the Proverbs 31 man, 31 husband, you know, clearly he's not just focused on, if it doesn't mention looks here at all, you know. If anything, what he's really looking for is a woman of character, a woman that loves the Lord above all things. And at the end of the day, the thing that adds the most value to our lives is God, godly character, and His love. You know, when we are with a person that, you know, reflects God's love and allows themselves to be shaped to the mind of Christ, that is something priceless and rare. And if we get the opportunity to be with someone like that, we should value that and, like, you know, not take that for granted. And that goes both ways for both men and women, you know. Treasure one another if you find someone like that. My other thing for women, I wanted to say, don't be afraid to ask your partner for what you need. You know, I'll give an example. For me, my boyfriend, he is a great guy, you know. I'm obviously with him for a reason, but he's not very good with words. He's not a man of many words, you know. He's not very good at, like, being all gooey and stuff, and like, oh, you know, or corny or anything like that. There's other ways where he's very intentional about showing me he loves me. Like, he's very loyal, he's very protective. He just makes sure I always feel like safe, and like if there's any time where like I need his support, like he is just like dropped whatever he's doing and it's like, yo, I'm here for you, you know. And he loves quality time, so he's just like, babe, you know. That's one of the ways like he just shows me like he loves me, but he's not like about to do a poem or something like that. But my love language is words of affirmation. So I had to tell him like, hey babe, like you need to work on being more expressive with me, because I need it. That's how I feel loved, you know. And I needed to be patient and extend grace and understand that he's not gonna go from 0 to 100 overnight, you know. It's gonna take time. And I noticed since we've been together, he's been a lot more expressive about like how he's feeling about me, or like, you know, just even writing me letters, you know, which I'm like, I know how hard it is for him to do that. So you know, if don't just because a guy is not telling you all these things, maybe sometimes it's just not in his character to be super expressive. I think some men have to struggle with that. So you could also be with him and partner with him and just be like, this is how you can express you know, your feelings towards me, or being patient with him in that, and like, you know, being able to talk with him and ask him for what you need, you know, and extend grace and know that he's not gonna turn into like, I don't know what, you know, Solomon, you know, he wrote the Songs of Solomon. Oh, you know, so that book, he wrote that book of poetry. He's not gonna turn into him. He may never turn into him, you know, overnight, but if he loves you, he'll definitely make an effort to show you that you're important, that he cares, and that and he'll find a way to like affirm you, and make it work, you know. If he loves you, he'll make it happen. So you just need to communicate that to him. So, ladies, men, that was actually my 2 major points. The Proverbs 31 husband, from the last verse, is someone that expresses his love for his wife in front of his children, and he is also someone that boasts and praises his wife, and you know, affirms her. I want to leave by you know, just reminding us of what we went over in this series. If you're interested in reading the other parts, you know, part 1 that focuses more on trust, you can look at my other YouTube videos, or you could focus on the one that number 2, which talks a little bit about respect and other aspects of masculinity, the role of a man, you know, in relationships and marriage. And finally this one, which talks about you know, how a Proverbs 31 husband expresses himself in the family and to his wife in order to make her feel loved, you know. So I hope that these videos have been encouraging for you, insightful for you. If there's questions that you have, other videos that you would like me to touch on, or verses that you would like me to analyze and share with y'all, let me know. That's what we went over in this series, and I just hope that you guys, ladies and gentlemen that were watching this, I hope that you feel like you've grasped more insight through these scriptures, these verses on, you know, we like to focus a lot about the godly wife and her role, but men, you know, if you're watching this, and women know this too, there's also a lot that a man needs to understand and be ready for when it comes, if he's wanting to ask you for your hand, if he is wanting to, you know, take on that next role of marriage with you, or if you want to take that role with a woman, you know, there's requirements that the Lord has for you. And if anything, sometimes more, God asks even more of the man than I think the woman in some ways. So it's important for us to understand these the way God calls us to love each other sacrificially, honor one another. So I hope you felt challenged, you felt encouraged, and that you have applied some of these things in your life and relationships. So, whoop, almost dropped this. So besos. Yeah. So don't forget to subscribe, comment, and share. Yeah, love you guys.